Joining me tonight in NC Continental Prime to examine the state broadcast is Akede, chartered accountant and communications consultant. A warm welcome to you, Akin, and thanks for taking time to join us on the news tonight.
I must thank you too, Kelsey, for having me. And good evening, Nigerians and other Nigerians who are not in Nigeria, whatever time that you are watching us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fatuke. Now, the speech delivered this night tonight by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu touched on various key issues in the country. What's your assessment of the speech, and do you think there was any area that the president left behind?
Epocha, timely, brinkmanship, economy, and more of the economy. The hardship that we have had and the groans that we have had in the land were really touched. The president made some sound bites. Tough patch, I know. Pains, I understand, he said. And unfortunately, there's no other choice. What are the other areas that I think the president left out? Two elephants in the room, not one. The first is that at the end of the day and the bottom line, for the investment, the food security that he talked about, the students' loan relaxation that he spoke about, and the fact that infrastructural development all sketched around the fact that we need restructuring. We may run away from it from now till kingdom come. Restructuring is the only thing that is going to sustain. And by restructuring, I'm talking about economic restructuring right now. The states must work and be seen to work. The local government must work and be seen to work. And especially local governments, if it is not working, then we are in a vehicle that is still bubbling and fumbling. And when Mr. President mentioned the fact that we are looking at reviewing the minimum wage, Mr. President cannot be talking for the states. He cannot be talking for the states. So it must have to be integrated. So that is number one. Number two, the bigger elephant in the room, Benga, is the fact that do as I say, and it must be as I do. What I think was missing from this president's speech, another hard one, is the fact that the executive, the legislatures, the governors, the state assemblies, the local government must also now begin to tighten their belts. The low-hanging fruit of showing example. I feel this pain. I'm going to give something back to you. I'm going to be looking at the nanos. I'm going to be looking at the SMEs and stuff like that. I am going to start with myself by making sure that at least I put something on the table by way of sacrifice and tightening my belt. Those two are the things that I, in my very honest opinion, didn't see mentioned.
Okay. I mean, leading by example. Now, Aki, in the president's speech tonight, he did show that he's aware of the people's plight and their hardship. He also enumerated some plans set up by his administration to tackle some of these issues to ameliorate the pains of the masses. What's your reaction to that, and how do you feel the citizens that have been groaning under this current economic situation would accept the speech? Would it resonate with them, and would they say, you know, we have a listening president, we have a caring president, and we understand the sacrifices we're making?
My reaction to it, 33 wrongs have not been known to make a right. And either way you look at it, the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart, the horse has bolted. In other words, I'm saying to you, in the whole of this subsidy or no subsidy thing and exchange rate unification, very hard, inevitable policy ought to have been thought through a little bit much more. Mr. President was announced sometime late February. I thought he had some time to now begin to put these things together. And just imagine that after the 29th inauguration, he had said a lot of some of these things that he has said will not have been better. Like I said, better late than never. I think Mr. President, realizing that yes, that has been put out, circumstances beyond you, like I've said, it's going to have to lead by example, and it has to lead by the top. It has to make sure that at the state level, and from the state level to the local government level, we are all moving within the same train factor. The citizens can only believe you when they see that we begin to show great examples. Yes. And I am going to
So he's already answered.
I'm going to say this. I won't stop from saying what needs to be said. That speech was epochal. Realize the pains. Realize the fact that we have a listening president who will continue to listen and who will continue to see and find a way to assuage our pains. That is, in my own honest opinion, is what I think the citizens have to do. But then, trust deficit. Nobody trusts government. And the only way they are going to be able to trust government is by personal example, starting from the president himself.
Fatunke. Now, just before I let you go, Akin, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu revealed that over 1 trillion naira has been realized from the subsidy removal so far, has been saved. You did mention that we operate in a low-trust environment. What are your thoughts on this? And do you think this money that we've saved from the removal of the subsidy regime will trickle down to be beneficial to the long-suffering Nigerian masses?
Beyond what Mr. President said, if the issue of the subsidy that we have been talking about has not been efficiently effected, refineries have been run to the ground, they are sitting on a bed of oil and what have you, and that by Mr. President's pronouncement, we have saved 1 trillion, I'll say hooray. It therefore means, even if you go by that estimate, we have an additional 2.5 trillion to be saved for the rest of the year. But as an industry practitioner, based on what I know, I can tell you that number might even increase beyond that as we now make sure we crowd out wastages, and people now begin to adjust to see that times is not it's not Father Christmas per se. We now need, again, part of the restructuring that respects transparency. In economics, we talk about opportunity cost. 1 trillion naira saved. Is that 1 trillion naira sitting somewhere and nobody is fiddling with it? And I'm happy that CBN is now being proved and the NNPC is now being proved. We now have to make sure that that 1 trillion naira plus the 800 million naira and the other funds that they wanted to expend is properly accounted for. Transparency International has not looked at Nigeria in times past as being fair. And Mr. President, being an accountant himself, a renowned auditor, knows that if he says 1 trillion naira, we want to see those 1 trillion naira being spent in the right places. Not 70 billion of it going to the National Assembly, not certain things going to the office of the First Lady, that going to the office of this and all that. And he needs to also make sure, as he is doing it at the top as the driver, the conductors who are the states and the local government are doing exactly the same. Otherwise, he needs to make sure that they comply.
The other federating units are on board with the president's program. Thank you very much, Akin Fatunke. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you tonight. Thank you for your time and contribution.
The real pleasure is mine, Benga, and please take good care.
Thank you.